How do you find a good deal?
Oof. All right. Good deal. First of all, we got to define what a good deal is. Most people, when a newbie comes to me and they're like, I want to find a good deal. What is a good deal? Well, I mean, just something that makes me money. Well, how much? I want to make $1,000 a month. Okay. If you put $1 million into a deal, let me ask you this. If you invested $1 million into a deal and you made $1,000 a month, is that a good deal?
Horrible.
Yeah, because of what 1.2% return on your money? That's terrible. You might as well stick it somewhere else. What if you put $1,000 into a deal and you made $1,000 a month?
Fantastic.
That's a fantastic deal, right? So we have to define the terms. Like, what do you mean by good deal? So I want to say, hey, personally, I like to get, you call it 8 to 12% cash on cash return, which means in year one, I'm going to get back 8 to 12% of whatever I invested just in year one. That doesn't account for the future. If you want to go like long-term over a 7-year hold, let's say, I want to maybe say, hey, I want 15% per year of my money, whether you calculate it as an IRR, which gets a little in the weeds, IRR or average annual return. But I want to get like 15% plus per year. Where'd that number come from? It's double the stock market. It's like roughly that's literally just a rule of thumb. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do the risk of real estate and the work of real estate investing, I want to get an outsized return. I don't want to get 7% over the next 10 years per year when I can just dump that in the stock market.
But where do you find that? Because I'm looking all the time. I don't see any deals in Vegas.
Yep.
Commercial real estate tends to cap out about 6.5%.
Yep.
When I look at any options that are out there on the market, you either have to do a substantial amount of work to renovate and raise rents, or it's better just not to do that and practically invest in anything else instead.
Sure. Yeah. Real estate does not work like it used to. I mean, this is a big thing. Real estate in 2025 is not real estate in 2020 or 1918, 17, whatever. The game has changed because of what we talked about earlier, right? Interest rates are higher, property values are higher. So what do? Well, we can just choose to sit it out and just invest somewhere else. And that's fine. That's what some people do. I'm a much bigger fan of this idea of how do we make cash flow work? How do we make a good return in today's market? So that gets to what I call like the fringe of the real estate strategies, where again, the old days, you find a house, it's listed by a real estate agent in Vegas, it's $280,000, you put 20% down, you make a nice 12% return on it, everyone wins and you're all happy. It doesn't work. You just can't do it. Like your mortgage is higher than what the rent is because rents are not going up right now at the same pace that housing prices are. So we have to say, well, how do we make better cash flow? I'll give you a few examples. I mean, I have a list of like 20 of them, but one of them would be rent. I mentioned earlier, rent by the room. They also call it co-living. There's a company called PadSplit that does this. They're kind of like the Airbnb of the co-living. Now, this is going to sound wild, but imagine taking a 5-bedroom house, adding 3 or 4 more bedrooms in it. Like you turn the garage into 2 bedrooms. You take the living room and turn it into a bedroom, maybe 2 bedrooms. And all of a sudden, you've got 9 bedrooms in this house for maybe 10 grand, 20 grand of work to get that. It's pretty simple to put up some simple walls that are just kind of temporary walls. I mean, like they're real walls, but you could remove them later. So now you got 9 bedrooms in this house. And that house normally would rent for $2,500 a month. And your mortgage would be $2,500 a month. You're just breaking even. So that's not a good deal. But when you can charge now, let's call it $800 a month for 9 different bedrooms, what is that, $7,200 a month? And so you just went from $2,500 and break even to $7,200. Now you got to pay some extra expenses. People are going to move out more often, water, sewer, garbage, all that you got to cover. But you easily can make $1,000 to $2,000 a month on one of these houses. And now I know people are listening and going like, that's insane. Who's going to live in something like that? Half of America will live in something like that. You're single and you make less than $50,000 a year. Like there's a good chance that you would rather pay $800 a month to live in one of those than $1,500 a month or $2,000 to live in a studio apartment. Does that make sense?
So we had a buddy who did that in Vegas. He stopped doing it because they kept having to call the police.
Yeah.
And he said
he wasn't doing PadSplit, and that was in a sketchier part of town.
But he did this 2 different properties where he rented by the room, and the police got called many times because
I think he had
dynamics.
3 fires.
He had 3 fires.
Like I would talk to him and he'd be like, I had another fire. And I'm like, what number are you at?
Yeah,
now,
and
dude?
he's like, the dude just set fire to the room. He just like had a breakdown and just lit it on fire.
So I love stories like this. I call it like my uncle invested in real estate once stories, right? Everyone's got like, my uncle did, like when I tell people I do real estate, my uncle invested in real estate once and had 3 fires, right? Everyone's got that story. My uncle lost his shirt in real estate. I caution people around the idea of taking anecdotal stories and applying it to principle, right? So I heard this happened, principle. There are tens of thousands, I would probably argue hundreds of thousands of units in America that are these rent by the room. And by and large, they work just fine. And so when you hear the stories, like when I hear a story of like, yeah, my uncle tried real estate investing once and man, the tenant burned down his house and he, stole his wife and like the whole thing, you're like, well, did your uncle screen for tenants? Did he use like a background check and a criminal check? And did he hold them to this stuff? And it's always, they don't know, but it's, of course, the answer is usually no. They're mediocre landlords or mediocre. I'm not saying your buddy is. I don't know. Right. And sometimes there's just crazy stories. I mean, I have a mobile home park. I think I said this on the show last time. Maybe not. I had a mobile home park where one of the tenants just like robbed a bank and then just went on the run, like from the feds. Like, yeah, that's a weird story. We couldn't evict him as easy because we couldn't find the guy, and it was like took months to get him out. Those stories will happen. I had another tenant in that same place. She was a prostitute who would advertise her services on like Craigslist or whatever, and she'd get people to come to her trailer, her mobile home, and they would come there, they would get undressed, they'd get all ready, and then her boyfriend would come out with a gun and rob them, send them out naked out into the night. And of course, they're not going to go to the police with it because like they're there to...
Then all the neighbors.
Yeah. So like it was just a really interesting scam that it's actually pretty smart. Like we have these stories,
right? How did they get caught?
Because they got caught because one of the guys who got scammed. He calls the property management company from like a burner phone. He's like, obviously I'm not going to go to the police with this. I'm not going to say my name, but this is what just happened. You guys should really look into it. So then we had to look into it. We had to tell the police, and they started investigating and the whole thing.
Was there a sting operation?
I don't think there was a sting. I think they just confronted the lady and her boyfriend, and I think that scared them enough to leave. And they ended up getting evicted a little while later because they stopped paying rent. I think they just disappeared. And yeah, anyway, those stories happen, right? Those happen when you have thousands of units, especially. You're going to have those crazy stories. I caution people against the idea of like a bad thing happened. Now, are there challenges with a thing like rent by the room? 100%. There are massive challenges. I'm not saying you should go do that. I don't do much of it. I'm very, very, very little of my portfolio is that way. However, it does work. There are many examples of people who are getting $1,000 to $2,000 in cash flow each home, and they just learn how to manage correctly. So this is that final point: is every one of the strategies, and I can name a few more, like ADU development. You build these little ADUs in the backyard. California's leading the way on that. I love it. Assisted living, residential assisted living, turning a house into almost a rent by the room, but for elderly, right? And yeah, there's problems with that. Everything I say here, build to rent communities. I love build to rent. Like you build a community of like 5, 10, 20 houses and rent them all out. You can make really good money that way. Every one of these people listening, something pops in their head and goes, yeah, but this, yeah, but this, yeah, but this. And that's hard. Like, oh man, imagine how difficult it would be to manage like a dozen tenants that live in one house. Yeah, you're right. That would be really hard. You know, it's also really hard being poor, right? Like being broke. That's really hard. You know, it's also being like, so in other words, like you pick your hard, and money is in hard. Like fast money, maybe the way of saying that. Fast money is in hard. When you can solve a hard challenge, like managing a bunch of tenants in one house, you're going to make a bunch of money. If you can manage the difficulty of getting licensed to do a residential assisted living in a community, super hard. I got a buddy doing that. He won't, like every house makes him $15,000 a month in profit when he's done. Yeah, but what about staffing? Yep, that's hard. It's hard to find good staffing. It's hard to be poor.
Yeah. I'm actually doing an ADU now.
Are you really?
In LA.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that strategy.
I never thought I would put more money in Los Angeles.
The ADU thing is, I think, one of the... You asked the question earlier, should people buy real estate today? And the answer is yeah, long term, if you can hang on to it, sure. Yeah. It's a great idea. ADUs are a way to hang on to it because you can build an ADU. I don't know, what are you spending on yours? You know?
So I'm spending $200,000 on mine. I'm able to borrow the entire amount as a pledged asset line at 5.26%. And I'm guessing I should be able to make, worst case, a 10% cash on cash return. So I should be able to net $20,000 a year from a $200,000 investment, which, you know, I'm paying $10,000 in interest. So it's basically a free $1,000 a month.
Yes.
Worst case scenario.
Yep.
Best case scenario, I make maybe a 15% cash return.
And what's wild now, if you wanted to maximize that even more, you could potentially Airbnb it if it's in the right area and the right legislation. Yeah, you could midterm rental it though. You get it staged, like where, let's say a normal ADU might rent for whatever, $2,500 a month, right?
Correct.
That's cool. But if you put the furniture in there and then you go list it on like Furnish Finder, you might be able to get $3,500 to $3,900 for that same unit. Yeah. Same thing. You cover a couple of the utilities, but all of a sudden you just jack your rent, your income even higher. Yeah. And there's other strategies as well. You can do the same thing. You can also add sometimes multiple ADUs now. I mean, people in San Diego are putting like 10, 15, 20 ADUs on one lot, and just property value. I mean, their value of their property goes up, their cash flow goes up. It's a phenomenal strategy. I love that you're doing that. I didn't know
I'm trying one.
Good. Yeah.
If it goes well, I'm doing it on the other place, the duplex I used to live in.
Yeah.
Turn that garage into an ADU.
Yeah.
If that goes well, then I got the place in West LA
Yeah.
where I want to do an ADU there.
Yeah.
Now, really quick here, Real Talk, short-form content has been one of the biggest drivers of growth for the Iced Coffee Hour. We'll take our best moments and then clip them up for platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. But let's be honest, it takes a lot of time to do it correctly. That's why tools like our sponsor, Opus Clip, are a game changer.
Opus Clip isn't just a clipping tool anymore, though. It's a full AI-powered video editor built for creators. It can automatically pull in your long-form YouTube videos, find the best moments, add captions, B-roll, and even schedule clips to post while you're away. It's like having a full-blown editing team, but powered by AI. Top creators like Jubilee and Darman are already using it. In fact, we already use it on the Iced Coffee Hour. If you see this clip that Togi's reacting to right now, it was made by Opus Clip. So sign up today. All you have to do is go to opus.pro/icedcoffeehour to get started. Again, that is opus.pro/icedcoffeehour, or click the link down below in the description. Seriously, guys, I could not recommend it more. Thank you so much to Opus Clip for sponsoring this episode.